What if the key to unlocking a better life was something as simple as improving your English? Imagine feeling more confident, seizing exciting opportunities, and exploring new horizons just by mastering a language. Let me take you on a journey of how one decision changed my life forever. My name is Raina, and I want to tell you a story about how learning English completely changed my life for the better. I grew up in a small town where life was simple, but I always felt that something was missing. People around me spoke mostly in our native language, and I rarely got the chance to practice speaking in English. Whenever I saw people confidently talking in English on TV or in the city, I used to feel like they had so many opportunities that I couldn't even dream of. I thought to myself, why can't I be like them? At school, I found it really hard to participate in English class. I struggled to understand what the teacher was saying, and I couldn't express my thoughts clearly. Speaking in English felt scary because I didn't know the right words or how to put them together in a sentence. I was afraid of making mistakes. I stayed quiet most of the time. Whenever someone asked me a question in English, I would get nervous and my mind would go blank. This made me feel left out, as if I wasn't good enough to talk to others. I had no idea that improving my English could change my life so much. Back then, I didn't realize that learning this one language would be the key to opening so many doors for me. Looking back, it was like standing in front of a big, locked gate that I couldn't open. Little did I know, learning English was the key that would unlock it and lead me to a whole new world of opportunities and experiences. What I thought was just a school subject turned out to be so much more than that. It became a way for me to connect with people, share my ideas, and achieve things I never thought possible. The struggle, feeling stuck. For many years, I avoided speaking in English because I felt very shy and scared. I was afraid that if I spoke, I might make mistakes and people would laugh at me. Every time I thought about speaking in English, I would feel nervous. It wasn't that I didn't want to learn or try. It was just that the fear of making a mistake stopped me. I remember one day in school very clearly. My teacher asked me a question in English during class. I could feel my heart beating fast, and my hands started to shake. I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came out. It was like my brain had completely forgotten everything I knew. I froze and stood there, silent, while the whole class stared at me. Then, the worst thing happened. Some of my classmates started laughing. It felt like their laughter was louder than anything I had ever heard before. My face turned red, and I wanted to disappear. I felt so small, like I didn't belong there. I thought to myself, why can't I speak English like everyone else? Why am I always so scared? That moment stayed with me for a long time. I kept thinking about it, and I felt upset every time I remembered it. But after feeling sad for a while, I realized something important. I told myself, if I don't try, I will always feel this way. I need to do something to change this. That day, I made a decision. I decided I would try my best to learn English, no matter how hard it seemed. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I didn't want to feel stuck anymore. Looking back now, I think that day was a turning point in my life. It taught me that even the most embarrassing moments can push us to become better if we don't give up. The turning point, deciding to learn. One evening, I was sitting on my bed, feeling upset about my struggles with English. I couldn't help but think about all the times I had missed opportunities because I wasn't confident in speaking or understanding the language. I felt stuck, like I was standing in one place while the world moved forward. Then, something happened that changed everything. I was scrolling through my phone and found an online interview of a woman who looked so confident and happy. She was talking about her life and how learning English had completely changed her career and her future. She shared how she used to face challenges just like me, feeling shy and nervous to speak in English. But she worked hard, and now she had her dream job and traveled the world, meeting people from different countries. Her story inspired me in a way I can't even explain. I thought to myself, if she can do it, why can't I? For the first time, I realized that English wasn't just a subject we learn in school to pass exams. It was much more than that. It was a tool, a key that could open doors to a brighter future. I began to understand that English could help me communicate with people all over the world, get better jobs, and even feel more confident about myself. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about what I had heard in the interview. I knew deep down that I had to make a change in my life. I decided right then and there that I would not let my fear of English hold me back anymore. I promised myself that I would work hard, learn step by step, and never give up. It was a powerful moment for me, and I felt a new kind of energy inside. It was the first step of my journey, and I knew that if I stayed determined, I could make my dreams come true, just like the woman in the interview. That night marked the turning point in my life, the night I decided to improve my English and change my future. The first step, building confidence. When I decided to improve my English, I knew I had to start somewhere small. So I began by learning new words every day. I made it a habit to pick 3 to 5 new words and write them down in a little notebook that I carried everywhere. At first, I felt overwhelmed because the words seemed hard, and I wasn't sure how to use them. But I didn't give up. I would write each word in a sentence, trying to make it as interesting as possible. For example, if the word was excited, I would write, "I'm excited to learn English today." Doing this helped me understand how to use the word in real life. Slowly, it became fun because I could see how these new words connected to my daily activities. To practice speaking, I stood in front of the mirror and talked to myself. I'd imagine I was having a conversation with someone, even if no one was around. I would smile and say things like, "Hello, how are you today?" Or, "I learned a new word today." It felt a little silly at first, but it helped me get comfortable with the sound of my own voice speaking English. Sometimes I would make mistakes and I'd laugh at myself, but that was okay. Every time I practiced, I felt a little more confident. I started to notice that I wasn't afraid to say words out loud anymore. It was like climbing a staircase. Each small step brought me closer to my goal of speaking English better. Learning new words and practicing in the mirror didn't just help me improve my language skills. It also made me believe in myself. It taught me that even the smallest efforts can lead to big changes. Challenges along the way. There were so many days when I felt like giving up. Learning a new language like English wasn't easy at all. At first, I thought it would be fun and simple, but soon I realized it needed a lot of hard work and patience. Some days, I would sit with my books trying to learn new words and their meanings, but I couldn't understand them. I felt so frustrated and even wanted to cry. It felt like no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't making enough progress. The worst part was when I made mistakes while speaking. People around me, especially some of my classmates, would laugh at me. They would say things like, "You can't even say that word properly," or "Why are you even trying if you're so bad at it?" Their teasing hurt my feelings and made me feel small. I started doubting myself. I asked myself, am I ever going to be good enough? Maybe I should just stop trying. But then, whenever I thought about quitting, I reminded myself of why I started this journey in the first place. I wanted a better life, one where I could speak confidently and take advantage of new opportunities. I wanted to travel, meet people, and have a good job someday. So even though it was hard, I kept going. I told myself that mistakes are part of learning, and it's okay to fail sometimes. Every time someone laughed at me, I used it as a reason to work even harder. I didn't want to let their words stop me from chasing my dreams. Yes, the journey was full of challenges, but those challenges made me stronger and more determined to succeed. Finding support, a group of friends. When I started learning English, I felt like I was alone in my struggle. It seemed as if everyone around me already knew how to speak well, and I was the only one who kept making mistakes. But one day, I discovered something that changed everything. I joined an online English learning group. This group was filled with people from all over the world who were just like me. They wanted to improve their English too. At first, I was nervous to join the group. I wondered if people would judge me for my mistakes or if I would feel left out. But as soon as I joined, I realized how kind and encouraging everyone was. The members of the group understood what it felt like to struggle with English, and they wanted to help each other. We started by helping each other with grammar. If someone didn't understand how to use a word or phrase, others would explain it in a simple way. Then we moved on to pronunciation. This part was really fun because we would practice saying words out loud. And if someone said a word incorrectly, the group would correct it without laughing or making anyone feel bad. The best part of the group was practicing casual conversations. We would choose topics like what we ate for breakfast or our favorite hobbies, and we would take turns speaking in English. Sometimes we would even act out little scenes like ordering food at a restaurant or introducing ourselves to new friends. It felt so real and helped me feel more confident. Every time I joined the group, I felt happy and motivated. It gave me a safe space where I could learn and grow without fear. Knowing that I wasn't alone made a big difference. There were people out there who were facing the same challenges as me, and we were all improving together. This group became like a family to me, and it taught me that learning is much easier when you have friends to support you. Daily practice, making English fun. When I decided to improve my English, I knew I had to practice it every single day, but I didn't want it to feel like a boring task. I wanted to make it enjoyable, something I looked forward to doing. So, I thought of fun ways to include English in my daily life. First, I started watching movies and TV shows in English. I used subtitles to help me understand the words. Whenever I heard a new word or phrase, I would pause the movie and write it down. Then, I'd try to use it in a sentence later. Watching these movies was not just learning. It was also entertaining. It felt like I was on an adventure, exploring stories from around the world while learning English. Next, I began reading simple books in English. At first, I chose books with pictures and easy words because I didn't want to feel overwhelmed. Slowly, I moved on to chapter books. I kept a dictionary with me, and whenever I found a word I didn't understand, I looked it up. Reading became one of my favorite habits. It was like diving into a whole new world every time I opened a book. One of the most exciting things I did was listen to English songs. I would pick my favorite songs and listen to them on repeat. I loved singing along, even if I didn't know the exact meaning of all the words at first. My pronunciation wasn't perfect, and sometimes I messed up the lyrics, but it didn't matter. Singing made learning fun and gave me more confidence in speaking. As I kept doing these things every day, I noticed small changes in myself. I could understand conversations in English better. I felt more comfortable speaking, and I even started to think in English sometimes. By making English a natural part of my daily routine, I didn't just learn faster. I also enjoyed every step of the journey. This taught me that learning doesn't have to be hard or boring. When you make it fun, it becomes something you love doing. That's how I improved my English, by practicing it in ways that made me happy. The breakthrough, speaking without fear. One day, something happened that completely changed my perspective on speaking English. I was attending a local community event in my town, which was full of fun activities, food stalls, and people from different places. It was a bright, sunny day, and everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves. Suddenly, I noticed a foreign visitor walking around, looking a little confused. He seemed to be searching for something, but didn't know whom to ask. To my surprise, he walked up to me and said in English, "Excuse me, can you help me? I'm looking for the city park." For a second, I froze. My heart started racing because I wasn't sure if I could answer him correctly in English. I thought about all the times I had doubted myself, and those old fears crept in. But then I remembered how much I had been practicing. I took a deep breath and told myself, "It's okay if it's not perfect. Just try." I smiled at him and said, "The park is straight ahead. Walk 2 blocks, and you will see it on the left side." I spoke slowly and clearly, and to my amazement, he understood me. He smiled back and said, "Thank you so much." That small moment felt so big to me. Even though my English wasn't flawless, I realized that I had communicated successfully. He understood what I said, and that's what mattered. I felt a sense of pride and relief. For the first time, I didn't care about making mistakes. Instead, I focused on being helpful and confident. That moment gave me so much confidence. It was like a light bulb went off in my mind. I thought, if I can do this once, I can do it again. From that day, I stopped worrying about being perfect in English. I began to see mistakes as part of learning and progress. This breakthrough taught me the most important lesson. The key to speaking English is not about being perfect. It's about trying, practicing, and believing in yourself. Opportunities come knocking. As I worked hard to improve my English, something amazing started happening. At first, I didn't even realize it, but people at my workplace began noticing me. They could see that I was speaking more confidently and clearly, and I wasn't afraid to use English anymore. My colleagues and even my boss started asking for my help when it came to tasks that needed strong communication skills. One day, my boss surprised me by asking me to give a presentation to the entire team. At first, I was nervous. I remembered all the times I used to struggle with English, but then I reminded myself of how far I had come. I practiced my presentation over and over, speaking slowly and clearly. When the day came, I stood in front of everyone and spoke confidently. To my surprise, everyone clapped and told me I did a great job. That moment gave me even more confidence. My boss began trusting me with bigger tasks, like handling important emails and talking to international clients. These clients came from countries where English was the main language, and because I had improved my English, I could easily communicate with them. They appreciated how clearly I explained things and how professional I sounded. Then, one day, something even more exciting happened. My boss called me in his office and told me, "Raina, I've been very impressed with your work lately. You've done a great job with your presentations and with our clients. I think you're ready for a promotion. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All my hard work and dedication to learning English were finally paying off. That promotion was a dream come true for me. It wasn't just about the new title or the better salary. It was about proving to myself that I could achieve anything if I set my mind to it. Learning English had opened doors for me that I never thought were possible. It showed me that with effort and determination, I could accomplish things that once seemed out of reach. My journey had just begun, and I was excited to see what other opportunities would come my way. A new life, traveling and dreaming big. After I worked hard to improve my English, something amazing started to happen. I was able to travel to new places I had only ever seen in pictures or heard about in stories. Before I could speak English well, I never imagined that I could travel to different countries and talk to people from all over the world. But learning English opened up a world of opportunities for me. One of the first trips I took was to a neighboring city. I had the chance to meet new people who spoke different languages, but I could still talk to them because we both spoke English. It was so exciting to be able to understand what people were saying and share my own ideas with them in English. It made me feel confident and proud of how far I had come in learning the language. As I continued to practice English, I started to dream even bigger. I imagined myself traveling to faraway countries like the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. I could picture myself sitting in a cafe in London, talking to someone about my favorite hobbies, or visiting museums in New York and discussing art with tourists. I never thought these things would be possible for me, but now I could see them happening. English helped me believe that I could go anywhere and talk to anyone. The more I traveled, the more I realized that people from different countries and cultures are very different, but they also have so many things in common. Even though we might speak different languages, English was the bridge that connected us. I made friends from places like India, Canada, Australia, and South Africa. I had never met anyone from those places before, but with English, we were able to share our stories and learn about each other's lives. It was an amazing feeling to know that I was no longer limited by the language barrier. I could be part of a bigger, global community. These travels made me think about my future in ways I hadn't before. I started dreaming of even bigger adventures, maybe studying in a different country or even working with people from all over the world. I realized that English wasn't just a subject I was learning in school. It was a key to opening up so many opportunities. It helped me see that there's so much more out there in the world, and I could be a part of it. So, with English, I didn't just visit new places. I also grew in confidence. I knew that no matter where I went, I could make friends, explore new ideas, and even chase my dreams. English was more than just a tool. It was a way for me to create a life I had always hoped for, but never thought was possible. Now I can travel the world, dream bigger, and live a life filled with excitement and endless possibilities. And I know that with each new place I visit, I am learning and growing even more, sharing my journey, helping others. As I look back on how far I've come in learning English, I realize that I'm not just learning for myself anymore. I've found a way to help others who feel the same way I did when I was just starting. I remember the days when I felt so unsure of myself and didn't know where to begin. I thought learning English was too hard for me, and I often felt like giving up. But now I understand that learning takes time, and it's okay to make mistakes along the way. That's why I love helping others who are on the same journey I was on. When I meet someone who feels nervous about learning English, I always tell them my story. I tell them how I was once afraid to speak because I thought people might laugh at me if I made a mistake. I remind them that mistakes are a natural part of learning. Everyone makes mistakes, whether it's in English, math, or even sports. What's important is that we learn from those mistakes and keep going. If I can do it, so can they. I also explain to them that learning a language is not something that happens overnight. It takes time, patience, and practice. I share the small steps I took each day, like learning one new word or practicing speaking in front of a mirror. I tell them it's okay to take things one step at a time and that they don't have to rush. It's not about being perfect right away. The goal is to keep improving little by little. Sometimes I even practice English with them. We have simple conversations where I make sure they feel comfortable. I remind them that speaking English is a skill that gets better with practice. I cheer them on just like I needed someone to cheer me on when I was learning. And over time, I see them growing in confidence. They start speaking more freely, and that makes me so proud. Helping others reminds me of how far I've come and how much I've learned. It's also a reminder that learning is not just about reading books or memorizing words. It's about supporting one another and sharing our experiences. I know that if we all encourage each other and believe in ourselves, we can accomplish anything, just like I did. So, if you ever feel unsure about learning English or anything else, remember that it's okay to make mistakes. Every mistake is a step toward success. Keep practicing, stay patient, and believe in yourself. And when you start getting better, don't forget to help others along the way, just like I did. If we all do that, we'll not only improve our own lives, but also make the world a better place for everyone. My message to you: learning English has truly changed my life, and I believe it can change yours too. I know at first it might seem a little difficult, and you might feel unsure about your ability to speak or understand English. But trust me, every big change starts with small steps. If you want to learn English and make it a big part of your life, the best thing to do is to begin with something simple. You don't have to speak perfectly or know everything all at once. Start by learning a few new words every day. You can even write them down in a notebook, say them out loud, or try to use them in a sentence. This way, you can remember them better. Practicing every day is important. Just like when you practice a sport or a game, the more you practice English, the better you will become. Practice doesn't have to be boring. You can listen to songs, watch English cartoons or shows, read simple books, or even talk to your family or friends in English. Every little bit of practice adds up and helps you get closer to understanding and speaking English better. One of the most important things is to believe in yourself. You may make mistakes, and that's completely okay. Everyone makes mistakes when they are learning something new. What's important is that you don't give up. Each mistake is a step toward improving. If you keep going, you will get better day by day. Remember, learning English is like building a big puzzle. Each word you learn is like adding one more piece to that puzzle. And as you keep learning, the picture becomes clearer. So, take it one step at a time. Don't rush or feel worried about how fast you're learning. Just focus on the progress you are making. Every new word you learn, every sentence you speak, is bringing you closer to your dreams and your goals. You can use English to make new friends, explore new things, and even travel to places where people speak English. It can help you do amazing things in the future. So, start small, practice every day, and always believe in yourself. If you keep working hard and never give up, English will open up many new doors for you. And soon, you will see that learning English isn't just about the language itself. It's about the amazing opportunities and experiences it will bring to your life. Keep going. You can do it. If my story inspired you, join me on this journey of learning English. Don't forget to like this video, share it with friends, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to English Tone for more inspiring stories and helpful tips. Let's learn together and make life better, one word at a time.